Hello and welcome to Sassy Katie Rents. Today we are making a taquito pie.
We were just getting some ground beef cooked as taco meat. I'm just adding a teaspoon of sugar to help the meat brown faster. And I've got here about 2 pounds of ground beef, so I'm going to be adding in 5 tablespoons of taco seasoning. We get this all mixed around and cooked and nicely browned. And we're going to let it cool off to use in our taquito pie. Alright, so this is pretty close to boiled. We're going to cook it a little bit longer. Essentially, we want it to be frying in its own fats at this stage. As soon as it is fully browned, I'm going to take it off the stove, let it cool. And then we're going to use half of this for the taquito pie, and then half of it will go into the freezer for future use.
So we've got 2 pie crusts prepped, ready to go. So I've just rolled out and in there. There's no holes poked in these ones or anything. Store-bought, of course, will work as well, but homemade tastes better. So to mix up our filling, we have 1 pound of ground beef that we have browned with taco seasoning. We're going to add 4 cups of grated cheese. That's orange cheddar. This is 1 can's worth of refried beans, 1 regular sized jar of cheese whiz that we're about to add in. So all of that goes in there. 1 jar of pickled jalapenos. We've got a 430 milliliter jar of salsa and 2.5 ounces of the brine from the pickled jalapenos. Once that's all in there, you're going to mix that up. And that's your filling. That's going to be enough to fill 2 pies. We're going to make sure that we split that evenly between our 2 shells. And we'll just tuck it in around our pie birds here. Just smooth that around. I do like to leave a little bit of space around the edge of the pie, just so it's a little bit easier when I'm adhering the top crust on to the bottom crust. So rolling out our top crusts, we want to make sure that we've got a little round area of flour. We've got our top crusts, 2 crusts worth here ready to go. I don't like to leave crusts out uncovered because they can dry out quite quickly. However, since we're just getting these right onto these pies right away, I don't think we need to worry too much about that. So I'm just making sure that it's well coated in flour and that my surface is staying well coated before I start getting to work, so that I can roll this out without having to move it too many times to reflour the surface, so that I reduce the chance of it ripping as I go. You want to roll it out quite thin, but don't try and rush it. If it starts to stick to the rolling pin, just get some of your flour spread it across the top. Okay, so we've rolled this out. It is quite thin. We want it to be. You can check and make sure that we've got a big enough shell just by holding our pie tin just over top of the dough here and making sure that it is enough that it'll go around. Just going to cut right out of the center, a little heart. That gives our pie bird a safe place to sit. As we want lots of steam vent, I like to cut a little design in my pies as well, because this is taquito pie and it's got a little bit of zip to it. I'm going to have some fun doing some very 90s flames with your designs. Make sure that you are keeping them sort of on the inside of where you will have your pie tin. Alright, I like to cut the design as well before I put this over the pie. It's a lot easier than trying to cut it once it's on the top. We're just going to gently roll this up. We can set it using our pie peel here over, set our heart, just tucks over our little pie bird there. Tucking it down into that little bit of a gap that I left it. can then use our knife here just to trim off the excess. We're just gonna run some water, you're just using our fingers, between both pie crusts. So that's gonna help to glue the two layers of pie crust together. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crimp this. So I'm just gonna use my thumb here and my two fingers, and I'm just gonna pinch that. So my thumb goes forward, my fingers go back. And this is going to bake in the oven at 350 degrees. You do want the oven preheated for this until it's crispy, lovely and delicious. Look like that when you're all done. All right, so this is a glorious pie fresh out of the oven. We do want to remove that pie bird first thing out of the oven while everything's still ooey gooey and releases this really easily, because we did make sure that we used that large cookie cutter for the center hole. It means that this can lift up quite easily. Give it a few minutes before we cut into it, and that's our glorious taquito pie.